Chapter 1: The Party. Isaac opened the back door to Luna's home. He found her Aunt Phoebe in the kitchen flipping pancakes in the air like a pro chef. "Oh, Isaac, I made a fresh batch of lemonade for you. It's the one with the white lid. Drink the blue one and you might sprout roots." Phoebe laughed while she flipped the pancake onto the plate. She sat the plate of stacked pancakes onto the center of the table. "Thanks for the heads up," Isaac said as he made a mental note that the white lid equaled good and the blue lid equaled bad. She may have laughed her warning off, but sprouting roots was a possibility if you drink the wrong thing in this household. In a house full of witches, anything was possible. My mom asked me how you kept your petunias so healthy and vibrant, but gave me a patronizing stare when I told her it was magic. She acted like I was mocking her. Isaac told her with a smile. "That's how most normal mortals will react when you tell them about magic," Aunt Phoebe said with a small smile. He opened his mouth to testify, but she gave him a playful stare. "You're the exception, my dear boy." Looking good, Luna thought to herself. She stood in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom. She wore a simple, admirable blue t-shirt dress with black leggings. Her long, straight black hair cascaded down past her shoulders. She ruffled her bangs to give them a little more volume, before placing the matching admirable blue headband onto her head. After twirling around to make sure everything was in place, she grabbed her backpack and headed downstairs. Isaac was already in the kitchen stuffing his face with Aunt Phoebe's homemade pancakes. Upon seeing Luna, "Nice," Isaac said with a whistle. "A special occasion?" her aunt asked before turning to the sink to wash this morning's dishes before they could pile up. "No, nothing special," Luna said as she sat down at the table, lowering her head to hide the blush that was creeping across her face. Isaac slammed his fork against the table. He had that "I had an epiphany" look on his face. "We have joined classes today. I should have known that the only reason you would wear a dress would be for Atom," he said. "Shirt dress," Luna corrected him. "And he is not the only reason I would wear one. I wore one to homecoming," Luna reminded him. "Only to impress him." Which was a total failure. Isaac shot back. Aunt Phoebe sat a glass of milk in front of her. Mischief shone through her brown eyes as she winked at Isaac. "Are we talking about that Atom, the captain of the lacrosse team?" At Isaac's nod, she wrapped her arms around herself. "That boy looks good enough to eat. Makes me wish I was back in high school." She took a seat next to Luna and poured some strawberry jam onto a plate of pancakes. "On second thought, I could just wait till next year, when you all will be entering college." Luna groaned. She loved her aunt, but she could go overboard with her teasing sometimes. She shoveled bites of pancakes into her mouth, ready to be at school. Even though she was embarrassed by her aunt, she had to admit that her words hit pretty close to the truth. Adam was really the only reason that she looked forward to school, well, for today anyway. She actually happened to like school. So much so that she had the highest GPA out of all of the students. Yeah, she was what some would consider a nerd. "You know I love you, Aunt Phoebe, but hands off." She was only half teasing. Her aunt laughed. "He is cute and all, but a little young. I might settle for that teacher of yours," she joked. "Oh my." Isaac fanned himself. "Mr. Trasky is hot. And my parents don't understand why I'm failing chemistry," he said, only half joking. Mr. Trasky was the new chemistry teacher this year. He was a really good teacher and Luna looked forward to his classes. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for her best friend and most of the student body. Oh, they looked forward to his class, they just weren't there to learn. Luna couldn't see why everyone made a big deal out of his looks, but that was probably due to the fact that she only had eyes for Atom. She stood up and took her plate over to the sink. "We're going to be late," she told her best friend, trying to bring her aunt and him out of their fangirling. Isaac sighed, then slammed the last bite of his food into his mouth. "Oh yeah, my mom said I could stay over while you're gone. Though she doesn't actually know that you're leaving," he told Aunt Phoebe. "That's great." Even though I really wish you wouldn't lie to your parents, dear. Aunt Phoebe tisked at him. Isaac had the bad habit of lying to his parents. Luna didn't really approve of it, but she understood that it was sometimes needed. Mrs. Intisky could be really suffocating sometimes. What time does your flight leave? She asked as she kissed her aunt goodbye. 3. You two better behave for the week. She gave both Luna and Isaac a hug. I have a list of spells and potions for you to work on, and she pointed a finger at Isaac. Don't go trying anything. If you're not sure what it is, then ask Luna. Aunt Phoebe warned. Yes, ma'am, Isaac said as he saluted her. Have fun at school today. Aunt Phoebe waved goodbye to them as they rushed out the back door. Luna sat at the lunch table playing with her food while she waited for Isaac. Twirling spaghetti around the prongs of her fork, she sighed. She was feeling angsty for the day to end. Well, not the whole day, just the school part. Days like today showed just how much more love she had for Atom than she had for school. Today, after classes ended, was lacrosse practice. Adam was the captain and the star attacker. Luna loved watching him play. He always became so focused and determined when he was out in the field. He also looked really good out there running around. Wipe the drool up that you're getting everywhere, came Isaac's voice from behind her. Luna looked down at the table, having fallen for Isaac's joke. That's not funny, and why would I even be drooling? She snapped back. Isaac placed his tray on the table and plopped down beside her. You had that blank yet starving look on your face that you get every time that Atom is around. He waved his fork in her face, knowing her all too well. You were daydreaming about him again, Isaac said confidently. Luna sighed and took a bite of her spaghetti. It was really just a pile of noodles and grated parmesan, since the school did not provide meatless sauce. I can't help it if he looks tastier than the school's lunch, Luna said with a sigh. Who knows, he probably is, Isaac said nonchalantly. Luna felt her cheeks heat up at his words. Why do you have to say stuff like that? You're supposed to be innocent like me, Luna said. Just because I'm innocent doesn't mean I want to be. There just isn't anyone out there who can handle all this, Isaac said as he waved his hand up and down his body in a diva-like manner while wiggling his eyebrows. Luna laughed at his theatrics. I think you meant to say that you're too picky, Luna teased him. Oh, says the girl that has literally liked the same guy since preschool. Isaac shot back dramatically. Luna pushed her tray away, not really in the mood to pretend that the stuff was edible. I miss when food here actually tasted good, she sighed wistfully. Blame the school system and the government. I know I do. He waved his fork in the air, a noodle hanging in between the prongs. Okay, so who do you blame for you being late? She teased. He sat the fork down onto the tray, then turned a wide grin on her. His hazel eyes shone brightly with enthusiasm. I was solving a problem for the lacrosse team. Luna raised a disbelieving eyebrow. She was pretty sure that no one on the lacrosse team needed his help, except maybe with homework, and he wasn't the best person to go to for that kind of problem. He leaned in close to her and whispered in a conspiratorial way. They needed a place to throw tonight's after-practice party. I told Carl to tell them to have it at your place. Isaac's words startled Luna. You did what? She shouted while screaming oh no internally. This could not be happening. Her aunt literally just left for the airport. There was no way she was going to let a party happen. No, she bit out. She was frustrated with him for pulling something like this. Not happening. Call it off, Luna said in a sharp tone. What, I thought you would be excited. It's your chance to get close to Atom, he pleaded with her. She shook her head at him, telling him that she was the opposite of excited. She wasn't going to break her aunt's trust like that. Her mouth dropped open when she realized a bigger problem. One much more serious than a forbidden party. Which is? Luna whispered. What? Isaac asked in confusion, not following why her bloodline came into play. The house is filled with magical potions. That's not the kind of place to hold a high school party or any kind of party for that matter. What if someone drinks a truth potion or a growth potion that's for plants? Luna said as a reminder, bringing up Isaac's shameful past. Isaac's face fell as the implications hit him. He knew better than anyone the dangers of potions. After mistaking the weed potion for bubble bath, he literally turned green from head to toe. He only returned to his normal color when her aunt cast the cleanse or reversal spell. It was a quick and easy spell that was meant to be used when people accidentally got a hold of a potion. I have to cancel it, Isaac said as he jumped up, nearly knocking his chair over. Cancel what? Luna and Isaac turned to face the newcomer. Standing at a tall 6'4" with a bronze tan was none other than Atom. The skin around his eyes crinkled when he flashed her a smile. Looking forward to tonight, Moon Girl, Adam said in a loud and friendly voice. It's Luna. She called to his retreating form. He knew her name. Well, close enough. She turned to face Isaac with new determination. Skip practice. We have to go home and hide all the potions, she said in determination. Wait, we're having the party? Isaac asked. At her vigorous nod, he sat back down. After school, they'll run home and hide everything. They'll also have to make a trip to the store to get drinks and snacks. This just might work. I'll pack everything up while you go to the store, Luna said as she rushed into the house with Isaac. What should I get? Luna shrugged. How was she supposed to know? She had never been to a party before, much less thrown one. Chips, one of those veggie trays, and alcohol. Oh God, she can't believe she just said that out loud. I can't believe you just said that. Wait, how am I supposed to buy alcohol? I'm definitely not of legal age, Isaac pointed out, his expression of pride turning into concern. I got you covered, but first, Luna said as she went into the kitchen and grabbed the envelope her aunt had left on the table. In it was cash for emergencies and groceries. She handed it to him. Use this to buy everything. Luna motioned him to follow her up the stairs. In her aunt's bedroom, hidden in a safe in the closet, were passports and IDs. Aunt Phoebe liked to be prepared in case someone ever found out they were witches and they needed to escape. Her aunt watched way too many documentaries on the Salem witch trials. She took out an ID and handed it to Isaac. This will help you with the alcohol. Isaac held the ID up beside his face. I don't think I can pass for Paddy from Iowa, Isaac said, his voice serious yet sarcastic at the same time. It's magic. All you have to do is say I am Patty, and a glamour will change your appearance to look like the photo while the ID is in your possession, she informed him. He really should have known better. Really? That's so cool. I am Patty. He looked down at himself, his smile faltering when his appearance didn't change. Is it broken? Luna shook her head. She had felt a rush of magic flow from the card and cover Isaac's body even though she couldn't see it. It worked. And it will continue to work as long as Isaac doesn't run into any witches or other beings that can see through such a cheap magic trick. Isaac left after that, taking her car into town. While he was gone, she got busy. Starting with the kitchen, she removed any of the magic items that people might accidentally use. She grabbed the cooler from the storage room and started packing things from the fridge into it. After it was filled with the cold potion, she opened the freezer to fill it with ice. Grabbing the ice cube tray that her aunt invented, she dropped the ice cubes into the cooler. She didn't completely understand the science that was behind the magic, but she knew that the tray was able to grab onto a water molecule from inside the freezer, then multiply it by 1,000 until an ice cube formed. There was no need to feel it with water, and the reaction was instantaneous. It just needed a water molecule, the ice tray, and temperatures below freezing. Once everything on the first floor was moved into the storage room, she magically locked it and moved on to the upstairs. She magically locked her room and her aunt's. No one would be able to enter the rooms with the spell in place. The only ones with access are her and Isaac. She moved on to the bathroom. Gathering everything into her arms, she deposited them into the guest room in one trip. Making sure to close and lock the door, she headed downstairs. Isaac pulled into the driveway a few minutes later. She walked down the steps to the car. Need any help? Isaac jumped at the sound of her voice. Don't sneak up on me, he breathlessly screeched. Luna held her hands up in front of her. Sorry. I didn't mean to. She apologized. Whatever. He leaned into the back seat and pulled out some bags and a case of beer. Can you grab the other one? She did as he asked and followed him after closing the car door. They deposited everything onto the kitchen counter and put one of the cases of beer into the fridge while leaving the other one out. What time is this thing supposed to start? Luna asked. Whenever practice is over. Isaac glanced at his phone and grimaced. Which was over 20 minutes ago. There was a loud knock on the front door. She nervously grinned at Isaac as she went to let the guests in. Looks like we finished just in time, she said, feeling her adrenaline rise with her nerves. Luna was leaning against the wall of the hallway upstairs trying to catch her breath. Music blared throughout the house. How had she let Isaac talk her into this? Inhaling a deep breath, she brushed the hair out of her face. She couldn't stay up there hiding forever, plus she wanted to see Adam. Adam. He was downstairs talking or maybe even dancing. Maybe she could even dance with no. With her nerves and the fact that she didn't know how to dance, it was probably safer to just talk to him. With a newfound determination and a goal in sight, a person, she pushed herself off of the wall. Slowly, she made her way down the steps. The living room was packed with drunken, writhing bodies. It was way more than the 20 people who were supposed to be there. And to top it all off, someone brought their own beer, 3 cases of it in fact. She found Isaac sitting on the bottom staircase. I figured you would have joined them by now, she teased him. He scooted over to make room for her. No one here wants to talk to me or dance with me. It sucks, he sighed. Luna felt eyes on them. Simon, a boy in her history class, was staring at them. He stood by the couch with a sea of bodies between them. Did you ask Simon? Luna patted Isaac's shoulder and pointed to where the boy stood. Not sure why he's here. I'm pretty sure he feels the same way about parties as I do. Isaac shook his head. I didn't even notice him. He looks a little out of place. I'll go cheer him up with my presence. Luna laughed. Before he left, he leaned down close to her ear. Was it her imagination or did Simon's face darken? I saw Adam heading toward the kitchen. Isaac whispered in her ear. Thanks. Luna sat there for a few moments before she got up. She looked over to where Isaac was and saw that he had Simon laughing at something. Shaking her head, she headed for the kitchen. A tall figure blocked her way. Excuse me. She tried to pass by them. The person grabbed onto her arm, stopping her in her tracks. She looked up to find the scowling face of Mark. She tried to pull her arm free, but Mark's grip on it was ironclad. Let go, she growled. He leaned down, his face just inches away from her own face. Where do you think you're going? His breath fanned across the lower half of her face as he growled the question. His dark brown eyes looked into hers for a second before he looked away. A smirk curled the edges of his lips. Following at him like a lost puppy, why else would you throw a party? His harsh words a bitter teasement. She hardened her stare and glared at him. It's none of your business, Quan. She addressed him by his last name. They weren't close enough for her to call him by his first name, nor did she want to be. Not anymore. His eyes met hers for a moment, something flickering deep within their depths. With a growl, he released her arm. Without wasting a second or giving him the chance to change his mind, she marched past him. Something cold poured onto her, covering her hair, splashing onto her shirt dress, and dripping onto the floor. The strong, bitter smell of alcohol burned her eyes and nose. What the hell? She whispered quietly while giving him a death glare. Anger seethed through her, turning her blood hot. She turned to face Mark, the red cup that was in his hand now empty. What the hell? She growled again. She turned a dagger-like stare onto him. What did she ever do to him to deserve this? Oops. His stare roamed up and down her body. Looks like that pretty dress of yours might stain. Mark's voice was low and it sent shivers down Luna's spine as her fury rose. What the hell, Mark? Isaac pushed past the writhing bodies, only a couple of people watching as the scene played out. As soon as her best friend was by her side, she felt the anger evaporate. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes. Mark's contorted features softened for a fraction of a second. Luna gave Isaac's hand a quick squeeze before she pushed past Mark and headed for the stairs. Once inside her room, she leaned her back against the door and let all her tears out. Why did Mark treat her like that? This entire school year he had been nothing but a jerk to her. He had spoken some harsh words to her in the past, but nothing like tonight. Once the tears dried out, she grabbed a change of clothes and headed for the shower. After she was satisfied that she no longer reeked of alcohol, she got out and changed. When she entered downstairs, she found that everyone had left. Isaac was in the kitchen cleaning up. He informed her that Mark had forcibly made everyone leave by telling them that the after-party had moved to his house. She was glad that everyone had left, she just hated that it was Mark who had helped her out, even though he had probably spared no thoughts to her and just wanted a change in venue. It just sucked that she never got to see Adam. Mark's point of view: when Mark arrived at the Ravenwoods, he found that the news circling through the lacrosse team was correct. There was in fact a party going on and Luna was hosting it. He entered through the front door. Music blared from the surround system and the smell of alcohol filled the place. Why was Miss Goody Two-Shoes throwing this kind of party? A hand slapped him on the back. Mark, my man, you made it. The drunken slur of Adam's voice rang in his ears, somehow audible over the music. That answered his earlier question. Wherever Adam was, Luna wasn't far behind. What did she see in this idiot? Adam held up a red plastic cup. For you, man. Mark didn't need to sniff it to know what it was. He shoved it against Adam's chest. Don't want it. Adam shot his hands up in front of him and shook his head. Keep it. You deserve it. He stumbled away, leaving Mark to himself. His eyes scanned the room, but the black-haired girl with skin the color of moonlight was nowhere to be found. However, he did find her best friend hunched over on the bottom step of the staircase. As he walked by, the boy tried to start a conversation with him. Mark shot him a glare, watching as Isaac backed down, looking at the room wistfully. He made his way to the kitchen and stopped dead in his tracks. Adam was there, bent over some girl. Her back was slammed up against the counter. She giggled when Adam started kissing her neck. Mark backed up and turned around. Hair as black as night brushed past him. He moved so that he was in front of her. Excuse me. Her voice was feather light, but loud enough to be heard over the music. He grabbed a hold of Luna's elbow, stopping her in her tracks. She looked up at him, confusion written all over her features. When she saw that it was him, the confusion twisted into a scowl. Even with her features turned into a scowl and impossibly silver eyes hard, she still looked like a goody two-shoes. Let go. Her voice was lowered into a growl. She jerked her arm, trying to pull it out of his grasp. She was stronger than he thought. He increased his strength, careful not to hurt her. He leaned down close to her. His heart rate accelerated with her being so close to him. Where do you think you're going? It was a rhetorical question. He knew she was heading to the kitchen to find Adam. There was no way he was going to let that happen. He knew it would crush her if she saw the person she was crushing on with another girl. He forced a smirk to his lips. Following Adam like a lost puppy, why else would you throw a party? His words were harsher than he meant them to be. Her silver eyes flashed before they hardened. It's none of your business, Quan. Ouch. She had used his last name, and to top it off she made it sound like it was a curse word. She hated him, she actually hated him. That was the only reason why she would call him by his last name. With a growl, he released his hold on her. Even if there was a small chance that she didn't hate him, she would after tonight. There was no way in hell he was letting her enter that kitchen. He glanced down at his hand. He still had that cup that Adam had given him earlier. Before he could stop himself, he emptied the contents of the cup onto her. What the hell? Luna's voice was a deadly whisper. She turned and faced him. What the hell? She snarled a bit louder. Her hair was soaked. The beer dribbled off the ends and landed on her dress. The dark blue material was now splattered with black dots. Oops, looks like that pretty dress of yours might stain. The dress was pretty and it looked really good on her. Too bad he just ruined it. What the hell, Mark? Her little sidekick appeared beside her. It was like a dam had burst open with his appearance. Luna looked up with tears pooling in the corners of her eyes. His heart fluttered, then sunk as it began to feel heavy. She blinked several times real fast before bolting past him and up the stairs. Her little sidekick raised a finger at his chest. Mark swatted it away and went into the kitchen. He threw the now empty cup away and grabbed Atom by the back of the shirt. What the? Mark cut him off. Party's over. He stormed out of the kitchen, dragging Atom behind him. Marching up to the surround system, he turned it off. There were some complaints as people looked at him in anger. Party at my place, he shouted into the crowd. Oh, he really did not want a party at his place, but he wasn't going to leave them there, and that was the only way to get them out. Mark stood in front of the fireplace, still holding on to Atom, as he waited until everyone had shuffled outside. When the last person left, he shoved Atom in front of him and pushed him out the door. Atom threw his fists into the air. Woohoo! The party continues. Not for you. Mark slammed the drunken boy into the car before slamming the door shut. He was going to take the idiot home, and if he was lucky enough, the others would grow bored and leave his place before he would get there. Before he got into the car, he spared one last glance toward the house. The light in Luna's room was on. He will figure out how to deal with that problem tomorrow. Chapter 2, Unforeseen. I'm never doing that again, Luna muttered as she closed her locker. It was the next day, and she found herself mumbling to herself like an idiot. Isaac was oddly nowhere to be found. Gripping her books in her arm, she walked to class. First period was English literature, the perfect class to help distract her from the events of last night. Was it her imagination, or did her hair still smell like beer? She was the first one to enter the classroom like always. The only difference is that she had no Isaac to talk to. There you are. The voice sent shivers down her spine. She sat up as straight as she could and looked straight ahead, not daring to look at the owner of the voice. Trying her best to keep the emotions out of her voice and her tone as cold and distant as possible, she spoke. Go away. Luna heard feet shuffling from the doorway, then quiet. She was about to relax, thinking that he was gone, when he let out a sigh. Sorry. His voice was so low and quiet that she thought that she might have misheard him, but no, she knew she didn't. Knowing better, she turned toward the door to look at him. He was already gone. Well, that was weird, she muttered. It didn't matter if he apologized, she would never forgive him. What was weird? Oh, finally. She turned to tell Isaac what had just transpired, but stopped. He was standing in the doorway holding Simon's hand. What the hell happened between those two during that party? When he saw her staring at their entwined hands, a blush covered his cheeks. He leaned toward Simon and whispered something in his ear before he dropped his hand and walked over to where she sat. Simon waved to them before scurrying away. She turned to him as hopeful excitement filled her. Explain. Isaac flashed a wide grin. Can you believe it? Simon had a crush on me, that's why he was at the party. That definitely explained it. She was curious as to why Simon was there in the first place. Isaac's explanation answered that. It also explained why Simon kept shooting her envied glances that bordered on hatred. She grabbed her friend's hand. I wanna say I'm happy for you, but I'm still not sure if you two are an item or. She left the question open, afraid to jinx anything. He lowered his voice, looking away from her. We are, he answered. She reached over and gave him a quick hug. Then I am definitely happy for you. Isaac's smile returned. Good, 'cause I need you to help me not to screw this up. I am the last person to help you and I don't think you'll even need any. She laughed. It wasn't hard to figure out why he was so nervous. It was the first time that he had ever been in a relationship. So where's the first date and when? Luna asked. Oh my God, he's taking me out this weekend and he wants it to be a surprise. I'm so nervous. Are we going to Chuck E. Cheese, the movies, or a library? He seems like the type to enjoy dates in a library reading. Oh God, I don't like libraries. Luna couldn't help but laugh at Isaac's reaction. Breathe. If you're that worried, then just ask him, but I think it will be fine, she said. Isaac was at the point of hyperventilating because he was beginning to overreact and imagine the worst. Isaac glared at her. Wait till you have your first date. You'll be an even worse wreck. The image of Adam's eyes popped into her mind. What would it be like to go on a date with him? She shook her head, trying to rid herself of that thought. Unfortunately, I don't think that will happen anytime soon. She sighed. Isaac slid in beside her and leaned against the locker beside hers. So, I've been thinking. Luna closed the door to her locker and gave him a pointed look, willing him to finish his statement. What if you could do that? Do what? Luna asked. They walked side by side down the hallway toward the back of the building where the student parking lot was located. If you really could use a potion on Adam, I'm sure that spellbook of yours has a love potion, or maybe even an attraction potion in it. Isaac mused aloud. She laughed at the ridiculous idea of a love potion. Isaac, there are no such things as love potions. They're not based on science. They don't exist. Luna told him. Really? I thought I was really onto something. His head hung low and his voice dripped with disappointment. She flipped her hair over her shoulder and straightened her posture. You know, I can do this without the help of magic. I mean, it can't be that hard to go up to him and say, hey, I like you, do you want to go out? Luna said in indignation. Yo, Moon Girl, you like someone? Luna flinched and Isaac flashed her an apologetic look. The owner of the voice came to a stop in front of them. Adam flashed his famous, heart-stopping smile. His dirty blonde hair was disheveled and sweat beaded along his hairline. Her heart was sent aflutter at his appearance. Did you have gym today? She mentally face-palmed herself for stuttering. His smile lowered at the corners. That slight movement would have gone unnoticed by anyone else. Lacrosse practice was cancelled. Anytime the lacrosse team couldn't hold practice, they had to participate in gym during their free class. Luna opened her mouth to say something to him. She wasn't sure what though. Knowing her, she probably would have apologized even though she had nothing to do with practice being cancelled. The corner of his lips picked up, and he flashed her another smile. Any words that she may have spoken died in her mouth. Her heart raced and the little butterflies in her stomach took flight. So, who's this guy you're crushing on? His green eyes sparkled with a sudden realization. He pointed a finger at her and clicked his tongue. It's Mark. Got to be. That's why you go to all of our practices and games, Adam said with certainty. White flashed before her eyes and the butterflies died out. Her vision swam before her, and her head suddenly felt heavy. She grabbed a hold of Isaac's shoulder for balance. What? She whispered in disbelief. Did he really just ask that? Did he really believe that she was in love with that jerk? Quan? Her voice rose. The disbelief on the verge of turning into hysteria. Adam put his hands up in front of him in surrender. His dazzling smile faltered before disappearing. I didn't mean to startle you. He moved to walk past them. Before retreating down the hall, he placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. I won't tell him. I won't ruin any romantic plans that you may have planned, he whispered in her ear. If she hadn't been teetering on the edge of rage and hysteria from his ridiculous theory, she would have been over the moon that he was so close. He gave her arm one last pat before heading toward the lockers. He is an idiot. No offense. Isaac turned toward her. When she made no move to defend Adam, he waved a hand in front of her face. Come on, Luna. You don't need to worry. He'll eventually figure it out. Don't let this set you back. Luna took in a much-needed breath. Slowly her nerves simmered down, and the weird image of her being with Quan faded away. I'm not going to. She winced at how rugged her voice sounded. Straightening her shoulders, she let go of Isaac's arm, no longer needing support. Quan? How is it that he thought of him? That's the last person I would have any romantic feelings for. A loud, angry snort sounded from behind them, making them both jump. Gee, thanks. The words dripped with sarcasm. Luna saw Isaac flinch from beside her. Turning around, they found Mark standing there. His hands were thrust into the pockets of his black jeans and a scowl covered his face, pulling his dark eyebrows down low. Without another word, he shoved past them, ripping Isaac away from her in the process. Isaac rubbed his shoulder and glared at Mark's retreating figure. Rude. Mark's point of view, Mark stomped down the hallway heading for his locker. His heart felt cold and heavy, and he found himself mechanically opening and closing his hands. That was definitely not what he wanted to hear, but he knew better than to expect anything else. It hurt more than he ever thought possible. Seeing the way she acted around that idiot. The way she would shyly smile every time she saw Adam. The way her eyelids would lower and those midnight lashes would flutter when she shot secretive glances in his direction. Even the way she said his name. It hurt so goddamn much knowing that Adam would be the only person that she looked at that way or say his name in that sweet, low raspy way of hers. It pained him, even more, knowing that the only looks that she would give him were hurt-filled glares. That the only whispers that he would receive were of the murderous kind. Hell, she never even spoke his first name in over a year. She always addressed him by his last name, creating as much distance between them as possible. It all hurt, but what hurt the most was knowing that he deserved every last bit of it. He was a real jerk to her, and that was putting it lightly. He sighed and kicked at something invisible. Yo! Mark, my man, what's got you down? Adam jogged up to him with his book bag slung over his shoulder. Mark shot a glare at him before walking up to his locker. Adam, being the idiot that he was, followed him. Yo dude, cheer up. He put an arm around his shoulders and leaned in close. Someone has a crush on you. He winked as he leaned away. Mark grabbed his book bag and slammed the locker door shut. You can take your crush or whoever it is and toss it. I'm not interested, he said, growing annoyed. Adam whistled. Dude, seriously, what's wrong? Mark exhaled, trying to calm his anger. Everything that he was feeling was his fault, not Adam's, not technically. It's just been a bad week, Mark admitted. Well, maybe this will make you feel better. I heard a certain girl, who's named after something in the sky, talk about confessing her love for you. Adam gave him a conspiratorial wink as he patted him on the back. He stopped walking as Adam's words sunk in. How big of an idiot could he be? Luna wasn't talking about me. Her name stuck in his throat. Shaking his head at his hopeless self and Adam's idiocy, he walked off toward the student parking lot, leaving behind a confused Adam. After the short drive back to his home, he parked the car in the driveway. His dad's Mercedes was parked in the garage, letting him know that his dad was home from work early. You're home early, dear, his mom commented when he walked through the door. Her brown hair was tied into a tight ponytail and she was wearing her pink floral apron. He couldn't smell anything cooking, so she must have just started. Yeah, practice was rescheduled for tomorrow. Coach had to take his mom to the hospital. Mr. Lakewood said that she had a myocardial infarction. He informed her as he took his shoes off at the door and placed his feet into his slippers. Oh dear. I hope it's not too serious. His mom shuffled back into the kitchen. He followed behind her. Dinner will be ready in an hour. She leaned into the fridge and started pulling ingredients out. He picked up an apple from the fruit basket on the counter. Do you need any help? He asked before taking a bite. No, I have everything under control. Do you have any homework? She set to work chopping up the vegetables. Her hand moved in quick, graceful movements. Mark shook his head. No, I finished everything in between classes. He said. That's my boy. His dad came up from behind him and slapped him on the shoulder. On the lacrosse team and basketball team, while staying at the top of his class, he bragged. It felt like his dad bragged every chance he got. Mark finished his apple and threw the core away. I'm gonna work out before dinner. His dad had turned one of the spare bedrooms into a small workout area when they had first moved in. Mark was pretty sure that he was the only one to actually use it though. His mom shot his dad a worried expression. Did something happen today? I mean something other than what happened with your coach. His mom asked. You weren't turned down, were you? His mom shot his dad an angry expression that told him to shut up. It's all right, Mom. Dad's actually not too far from the truth. His dad's eyebrows shot up and were lost underneath his messy black bangs. Mark laughed at his dad's shocked expression. You look as if that's something you believe to be impossible. His mom sighed. Placing the knife down onto the cutting board, she turned to face him. It is hard to believe that Luna would turn you down, and even harder to believe that you asked her out. His dad raised his hands out in front of him defensively. Your mother said it, not me. His mom didn't even bat an eyelash at his dad for throwing her under the bus. Mark leaned back against the counter. I didn't ask her out. But let's just say that I found out that if we were the last two humans alive, then the human race would be screwed. He told them. Oh, it can't be that bad. His dad tried to reason. He shrugged his shoulders. It is that bad and I deserve it after what I put her through. Mark admitted, knowing he deserved all of her hate. You know, if you had just told her the truth, in the beginning things wouldn't be like this. His mom chastised. I know. It's just hard to when I'm around her. If only he could talk to her like he did with his parents. His dad rubbed his lower lip deep in thought. You know, it might be that easy. He mustered out loud. His mom shot him a worried look and shook her head. Oh no, no one is using that spell again. The last time you used it, we had to move. She shot his dad a look that said her word was final. Don't worry, Mom. I know better than to use magic for things like this. 4 years ago, his dad decided to use the truth spell to help him out of a situation at work. The whole ordeal had spiraled out of control, and his mom decided that it was in their best interest to move. And they did just that, they moved to a whole new country. Well, technically it wasn't new since they had lived in the United States until Mark was 5 before they moved to South Korea to help take care of his grandparents when they were going through financial difficulty. He was really glad that his mom didn't possess any magic. She was able to look into his dad's world with different eyes and had taught her son to do the same. It made him appreciate magic and to be wary of the consequences that came with using it. Yeah, that's probably the smarter choice. His dad chuckled before grabbing the newspaper off the dining room table. Mark poured himself a glass of water before heading off to the makeshift exercise room. Chapter 3 Mark Kwon. Luna slammed down onto her bed, burying her face into her pillow. How in the world could Adam think that she liked Kwon? That she was in love with him, with Kwon? The thought sent shudders down her spine. There was no way that she would ever have feelings for him. He could do a 180 and change completely, and she still wouldn't have feelings for him. She wouldn't even think about being his friend. She would never make that mistake again. During their freshman year, he had transferred into their school. It had been during the middle of the school year and his arrival had raised many eyebrows. The students and staff were used to transfer students from all around the United States and even from other countries. But Kwon was the first one that they had seen from South Korea. 3 years ago, Luna sat in her seat reading the book that Mrs. Dickinson had assigned for homework the day before. The book was none other than Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. She was enraptured by the book. She dove into the Shakespearean world and lost herself into the plot and characters. The quiet of the classroom became a different kind of quiet, one that was filled with whispers and murmurs that were loud enough for her to pick out individual words and even full sentences. A new student. Came from one student. A foreigner. Voiced a second. Wonder if he speaks English. Voiced a third. Cute. Luna flipped her book over onto the desk. Turning around in her seat, she looked to see who was the cause of all the commotion. Standing inside the doorway, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt, was a boy around her age. His hair and eyebrows were a deep black and his eyes were a dark color. His skin was the color of toasted almond, and it reminded her of the Japanese student that had studied at their school last year. He shifted his weight onto his other foot and looked down at the floor. A pink blush bloomed across his cheeks. Luna looked behind her to where Mrs. Dickinson's desk was located. It was empty. Weird, class technically started 5 minutes ago, and she still hadn't arrived. Luna stood up from her desk and walked across the little walkway in front of the desks to the other side. Lining the wall by the door were shelves filled with books. She grabbed a copy of Romeo and Juliet and walked up to the boy. She held out a hand for him to shake. "I'm Luna, Luna Ravenwood." He looked up at her, taking her hand in his, and gave a small, relieved smile. "I'm Mark. I mean Mark Quan." The whispers around them increased as the students soaked up the information. She smiled at him, hoping to show him that he didn't need to be embarrassed or nervous. "This is the book that we're reading for this class. We just started reading it yesterday, so it shouldn't be too hard for you to catch up." She handed him the book. He grimaced as he read the title. "It's not that bad, and if you need any help with understanding the Old English, just ask someone," Luna said, keeping her kind smile. "Trust me, you won't be the only one lost," Lila told him. When Mark looked at her, she gave a small wave. The blush on Mark's face deepened, causing Lila and a few of the girls surrounding her to giggle. "Must not be used to all the hot girls," Carl sneered. Luna shot him a glare which only caused the jock to burst into laughter. She needed to work on her glare if she wanted to be more intimidating to the idiots that she was surrounded by. Shaking her head, Luna turned her attention back onto Mark. "Do you have your schedule yet?" Mark fished around in his back pocket and handed her a folded piece of paper. Luna carefully unfolded it and read the schedule. "It looks like we have lunch and biology together." She smiled. "Lunch? Does everyone not eat lunch together?" He took the paper back from her and stuffed it into its home in the back pocket of his black skinny jeans. She shook her head at his question. "Because there are so many students, lunch is broken into 2 sections, A and B." He looked down at his feet. His fingers found the hem of his shirt and started twisting themselves in the fabric once again. "By lunchtime, if you haven't found anyone to sit with, you're always welcome to sit with me," Luna offered. Mark looked up. Hope shined in his dark brown eyes. "Only if you want your social reputation smeared by being friends with the nerd." Carl scoffed. "You say that like it's a bad thing." Luna tilted her head in contemplation. "I would think that it would be a good thing to be friends with someone that could help you with homework problems," Luna told Carl, not liking the tone he had used. "You wouldn't have to worry about failing a class." Lila smiled sweetly at Carl while her tone of voice was mocking. "Oh." Mrs. Dickinson almost bumped into them. Luna instinctively tugged Mark out of the way. "You must be my new student. I'm sorry I'm late. The printers on this floor are malfunctioning." Mark gave a slight bow. "I'm Mark Quan." He introduced himself. Mrs. Dickinson gave him a warm smile. She handed him and Luna each a paper. "The desk behind Luna is empty," she called over her shoulder as she handed papers out to the rest of the class. 4 hours later, Luna sat down at the table that she and Isaac had claimed at the beginning of the year. Today's lunch was hamburgers and French fries. She of course just had a side of fries and what was constituted as a salad. "Did you finish your biology homework, and did you hear about the new student? Apparently he's a total cutie," Isaac chattered on. She fished her biology folder out of her bag and handed it to Isaac. "Remember not to copy it word for word." He gave her a look, his hands on his hips. "I know. I don't even know half of the words that you use." A shadow fell over their table. Mark stood on her other side. A tray sat awkwardly in his hands as he fidgeted from foot to foot. Isaac poked her in the side, a questioning look in his eyes. Luna ignored him. "Have a seat." She smiled at Mark. He glanced between the two of them. His eyebrows furrowed together, and a light blush painted itself on the visible part of his neck. "Are you sure? I don't want to interrupt your alone time," Mark said shyly. Luna became puzzled at his words. Why would she and Isaac need alone time? And why would Mark be so embarrassed about interrupting them? Isaac slammed his hand down onto the table, erupting into a fit of laughter. "He thinks that we are a couple," he wheezed in between laughs. "Huh?" Luna glanced between Isaac and Mark. Watching Mark's embarrassed fidgeting told her that Isaac was right. She let out her own laughter at the situation. "We're not a couple." She waved a hand up and down herself. "I'm afraid I'm the wrong gender for him," Luna said. "Oh." Mark hesitantly sat down beside her. He gently laid the tray down as if he was afraid of breaking it. "Sorry." Luna shook her head. "It's fine. It's an easy mistake to make for someone who just arrived. Don't worry, you'll learn about everyone, their secrets and not so secret secrets. Though I guess everything isn't so much of a secret." He laughed at her, pondering. The tension and nerves drained out of his system as he finally began to relax. Luna's eyes wandered over to the gymnasium doors. They were large wooden doors with small glass windows cut out in them. The table was situated in the right spot at the right distance for her to peer into those small windows. On the other side was an active gym class. It looked like today's game was basketball, but she wasn't interested in knowing what sport was going on. No, what she was interested in was a particular student. A tall, well-toned, tan student with curly blonde hair and eyes so green that they looked like gemstones. A hand waved itself in her line of sight. Earth to Luna. She turned an annoyed stare on the person who interrupted her search. "Don't look at me like that. Mark has been trying to get your attention." Isaac pointed a hand at a flustered-looking Mark. "Sorry. What is it?" Luna asked. "It's nothing," Mark whispered. His eyes strayed to the gymnasium doors with a curious expression. "What were you looking at?" he asked in a more normal tone. The momentary unease that had gripped him seemed to be gone. "Oh, she was trying to spy on her Romeo." Isaac clasped his hands together and started making kissing faces. She grabbed her biology folder and smacked him with it. "He's not my Romeo, nor do I want him to be. That story ends in a tragedy, and I don't want that to happen to Atom." Luna clarified. "Atom?" Mark asked. Isaac laughed and leaned across the table. "He's destined to be the school's #1 jock by junior year. He's the outrageously tall, tanned Greek godlike student that you may have seen wandering the halls. He's also Luna's first and only crush." Isaac joked. "Isaac," Luna hissed. She could feel her cheeks burning. "What? Everyone already knows you like him." "Well, except for him himself." Isaac turned his attention back to Mark. "The only smart thing about him is his strategy during sports. Other than that, he has bolts for brains." Isaac told him. "That's not true. His grades this year are at a steady C average." Luna defended him. "Sure, those grades weren't very good, but they were high enough that he could continue participating in sports." She was secretly amazed by his grades. He played both lacrosse and basketball while still maintaining average grades. She actually wasn't sure if that was considered good or not. She mainly just stuck to academics and avoided sports, so it might actually be easy to do well in both. "Are you two dating?" Mark asked. Luna wasn't sure, but Mark's tone sounded almost deflated. Isaac barked out laughter, banging his hand against the table. "Dating? She can't even talk to him. She turns all red and flustered and looks like a fish out of water." Luna puffed her cheeks out. Isaac was right about his observation and analogy. Even though he was right, still didn't mean that it didn't hurt. She was plenty aware of her shortcomings, especially when it came to Atom. It would be easier if Carl wasn't always around. It wasn't a complete lie. Carl made sure that Luna had a difficult time getting close to Atom. He even threatened her a couple of times. It was getting to the point that she was suspicious of his feelings toward his best friend. Mark fell silent after that. Luna also became silent as she continued her search for her crush, and Isaac busied himself with copying her homework. By the time biology rolled around, Luna found herself looking for Mark. "He's late," Luna muttered aloud. "Who is?" Lila blew a bubble with her chewing gum. "Mark." She had invited him to be a part of their group. At the beginning of the year, their teacher had them pair up into groups of 4. Her group was the only one with 3 members, her, Isaac, and Lila. She was pretty sure Lila only joined their group to have help with the assignments, and because none of her friends were in the same class. The door opened and Mark walked in with the teacher right behind him. Lila gave him a curious once-over when he sat down beside her. "You seem different from this morning," she commented in a whisper so that she wouldn't be overheard. He shrugged his shoulders as he pulled out a notebook. Looking up, he smiled at them. "I signed up for basketball. Since their first practice is tonight, and they were short a player, they gave me a spot on the team." His words shocked Luna. She never pegged him as one for sports. "Cool. I can't wait to watch you out there," she told Mark. "Are students allowed to watch practices?" Mark's expression mirrored the puzzlement in his voice. "Of course," Lila said a bit too loudly. The teacher turned toward their group and put a finger to his lips, telling them to stop talking. Luna opened the gymnasium doors. The players were all wearing shorts and muscle shirts, even Mark. All of them were crowded around the bench. Some were tying their shoes while most were talking and laughing. She found Isaac already sitting on the bleacher that was pulled out for students who wanted to watch the practice. She scurried over to where he sat. She caught Mark looking in their direction. She waved to him. He looked away from them and toward the ground, ignoring her. She wondered what that was about. Maybe he was nervous. The doors opened again as Adam strutted to where the rest of the players were. The black shorts that he wore revealed the long, toned legs that were usually hidden underneath jeans. The red muscle shirt was cut down the sides, revealing the tantalizing skin of his chest. She didn't think she would ever get used to the way his body looked and the way that it made her heart flutter and her cheeks burn. The coach walked in and started talking to the players. He blew the whistle that hung around his neck, and everyone except for Mark took off. Luna hated the look that her friend wore as he watched the other players run across the floor, passing the ball back and forth. "I really hope he gets to participate." Isaac nodded and squeezed her hand. "Yeah, me too." Just then, one of the players fell onto the ground as Carl ran past him. The player, Luna was pretty sure that he was a senior, got up off the ground only to fall again. "I think his ankle is twisted," Isaac whispered to her. "Why are you whispering?" Adam helped the player up. The guy stood with most of his weight on one leg. "Never mind. I think you're right about the ankle." The coach signaled for Mark to go out onto the court while Adam helped the guy with the injured ankle over to the bench. Luna watched as Mark got the ball on the first try. He dribbled it for a second before he shot. The ball soared through the air, brown and black blending together. It hit the ring of the net and stayed there, wobbling back and forth before falling into the basket. Practice carried on for another hour. It was pretty much just Adam and Mark scoring baskets. A couple of the other guys made some baskets and tried to keep up but never could. It was almost too painful to watch as they struggled against Mark's speed and Adam's strength. The coach blew the whistle signaling the end of practice. He grabbed Mark on his way out and started talking to him. She had a feeling that Mark won't be sitting on the bench again in the future. The group of girls that were sitting near them started whistling and fanning themselves. When Luna looked at what had their attention, she felt like joining them. Adam had a towel wrapped around his neck. Sweat lined his hair and dribbled down into his face. He walked over to where they sat, his eyes trained on the group of girls. Kendra, I need to talk to you. His voice came out steady and showed no signs of exhaustion. Kendra stood up and slowly walked down the bleacher steps. A coy smile splayed across her lips. Her long brown hair was pulled into a ponytail, the lights reflecting off of the gold highlights. When she reached the bottom, she didn't stop but kept on walking past Adam. He watched her walk away. The goofy grin that he wore pulled on her heart, twisting it until it became painful. Isaac pulled on her arm. Stop worrying and come on. She allowed him to pull her up and drag her down off of the bleachers. I'm gonna grab a drink for Mark. Do you want one? She shook her head. After he disappeared around the corner, she leaned against the wall. The locker rooms were across the hall. Far quicker than she thought they would, the guys came out of the locker room. Everyone except for Atom. She spotted Mark lingering behind everyone. You were amazing, she said once she reached him. He gave her a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. So, is Atom still in there? She made to move past him, but he grabbed her arm. What? I'm not actually going to go in there. She laughed. She tried to pull her arm free, but he tightened his grip, digging his fingers into the soft skin. Mark. He kept his eyes glued to the ground. Mark, let go. It's starting to hurt. She tried to pry her arm away, but his grip wasn't loosening. She felt his fingers flex against her skin as his arm tensed. That was the only warning she had before she found herself pressed up against the cold, hard brick wall. Mark leaned in close. His dark brown eyes appeared black. Stay away from him or else, was all he said before he let go of her. His voice sent shudders down her spine. Out of the corner of her eye, she watched as he turned the corner that led into the cafeteria. Her legs started to shake, then turned to jelly. She found herself sliding down the wall, no longer able to stand. What was all that about, and when did Mark suddenly turn scary? There had been no trace of that shy and nervous kid that she had met earlier that day. Present day. Someone pounded on her bedroom door hard enough to make the doorknob rattle. For one crazy moment she thought it was Quan on the other side, ready to pull another mean stunt. Then she remembered that Isaac was staying with her and that it was probably him. She opened the door to find a grinning Isaac. You'll never guess what I found. When I walked into my room, I saw the ID laying on the nightstand, so I went to return it to your aunt's safe. There was a secret compartment filled with spells in her handwriting. And guess what was written on one of the papers? He paused for dramatics. A recipe for a love potion. The words tumbled out, and she had a hard time following, but she was able to get the gist of it. A love potion? Did her aunt actually manage to create one? Let me see. Isaac handed her a faded piece of scrap paper. In her aunt's curly script were the directions to a simple potion. One that was apparently a love potion, according to the name that was written in the top corner. Isaac rubbed his hands together. Are we going to try it? Luna looked over the paper again, and a frown fell upon her lips as she thought about it some more. The paper listed the ingredients, directions, and the immediate effect, but nothing else. I wonder how long it lasts. Most potions wore off after time, but there were some out there that had permanent effects. Probably not long, Isaac said, guessing onto why she was hesitant. I've noticed that most consumable potions don't last long, or at least the ones I've seen. He gave a shrug. Plus you have those reversal spells and potions just in case it doesn't wear off. Isaac was probably right. Aunt Phoebe usually never created anything that would last too long, unless it was for gardening. They also had plenty of reversal potions and spells that worked for most things, since Isaac tended to follow up on his curiosity quite a bit. Okay, Luna finally relented. I think I might try it. Isaac looked at her expectantly. You want me to do it now? She asked, noticing the look he was giving her. He gave a vigorous nod as an answer. Fine. She clutched the potion recipe in her hands and headed down toward the kitchen, with Isaac following close behind. Luna placed the pot of water on the stove, then turned the burner on. I wonder if this will actually work, she muttered. It's one of your aunt's potions. I'm sure it will work. Isaac sat at the kitchen table drinking a glass of lemonade. I know. It's just so simple. I've never brewed a potion as simple as this one. I mean, there's only 3 ingredients. Most of the potions that her aunt had her create in the past required multiple ingredients and had various steps. It just seemed odd to her to literally just boil water. Okay, so it just wasn't water. Once it reaches the right temperature, she'll be able to add the other 2 ingredients. It also required 2 steps, boiling and cooling. It really was a simple potion. The only downside was that it was time-consuming since the potion couldn't be cooled magically. Tiny bubbles formed in the water, growing until they broke through the top layer. Luna turned off the burner and removed the pot from the hot burner. Then she added a few drops of sweat that she had collected from herself earlier. Isaac came up behind her. Is it done? Luna shook her head. I still have to wait for it to reach room temperature. She looked at the pot of water. How was she supposed to get Adam to drink this? How are you supposed to get Adam to take this? I mean, it looks like water. What are you supposed to do with that? Isaac voiced her own concerns. It would be easier if it was in a solid or gelatin state where she could pass it off as some sort of sweet. That's it. She'll just have to make something that requires water and no baking. She went over to the fridge and started grabbing ingredients. She wasn't very talented in cooking food, but she excelled in baking. What are you doing? Isaac peered over her shoulder, watching with curiosity as she began piling butter, eggs, milk, flour, sugar, and various other cooking ingredients on the counter. I'm going to make some sugar cookies. Once the potion is done, I'll use some of it to make the icing. That's how I'll get Atom to take it. She couldn't put the potion in the actual cookie because she wasn't sure if reheating the potion would cause it to change properties or cancel out its magical effects. Isaac pulled on her shirt sleeve. Make some without the potion. Don't worry. There will be some for us. I'm only gonna make 1 potion-infused frosted cookie. She chuckled. She poured the milk into a cup, then put the rest back. The actual baking couldn't begin until the cold ingredients were at room temperature, which would give time for the potion to cool off as well. Luna pulled the cookies out of the oven and laid them on top of the stove to cool, then went over to the potion and checked the temperature. Once she was satisfied, she leaned down and blew onto the water. That was the last ingredient that the recipe called for, and she had to admit that she felt a little ridiculous. Where her breath touched the water as it grazed across, a pinkish-purple light shined. It lasted only a second before it winked out. She was a little surprised that it actually worked. Well, she wasn't sure if it actually worked or not. The only thing that light told her was that the water was now imbued with magic. She set to making the icing. Once everything was whipped, she set a little bit to the side. Picking the dropper that she had laid out, she squeezed some of the potion into it, then squeezed a few drops into the spoonful of icing that she had set aside. Taking inspiration from the potion, she added pink coloring to it so that she would be able to tell Adam's cookie apart from the others. The pink coloring also tasted like cherry, which was Adam's favorite. Isaac walked into the kitchen and grabbed one of the white ice cookies. So I'm guessing in this case that the pink one is bad. You should add his name to it. It would give it that extra feeling. Isaac suggested. Luna cocked an eyebrow. It sounds kinda creepy to me. She looked at the leftover potion. It might be a good idea to keep it in case the cookie idea failed. For some reason, the only thing that she could find to store it in was a water bottle that she assumed that Isaac must have dragged home. Chapter 4, Love Portion. Luna and Isaac stood beside the bleachers, watching as the lacrosse team ran across the field. The jerseys they wore for practice blended together in a blur as they moved across the large field. She adjusted the backpack on her shoulders as the weight pressed down uncomfortably, careful in her movements so as not to ruin any of the cookies. The plan was to hand them out to the players after practice as a present to cheer them on before their next game. It was the only plan that she and Isaac could come up with without looking too strange or making it appear obvious that they were up to something to be wary of. I can't believe you guys watch these things. It's boring. Simon bounced on the balls of his feet, a textbook clutched in his large hands, one that he had already flipped open a few times. Luna had to agree with him that these games were boring. But unlike him, she had someone who made them less boring to her. Her motivation for attending these practices helped to keep her mind preoccupied during them, all while taking in the captivating sight that was Atom Fisk. I started finding them entertaining around sophomore year. I mean, where else can you see this many sweaty guys, and most of them look pretty good? Isaac practically swooned as he looked out onto the field. Simon started glaring out into the field while occasionally casting glances toward Isaac, the book in his hands forgotten. Oh boy. Luna had the feeling that Simon might be the jealous type. He was going to have it rough while dating the boy-crazed Isaac. The coach blew the whistle, signaling the end of practice. Luna shrugged off her backpack and grabbed the cookies as the players started making their way to them. Walker got there, Moon Girl. Adam was the first one to reach them. Luna grabbed the pink iced cookie from the top and handed it to him. A cherry frosted sugar cookie. Your favorite, she said with a small smile, surprised though she spoke with stuttering. Did you make everyone's favorite? He took the cookie from her, trying his best not to stick his fingers in the icing. No, I made plain for everyone else. I only know your favorite flavor, Luna said aloud while screaming internally. Oh God. How obvious could she be? Apparently, not that obvious. Adam looked behind him in a conspiratorial way. He leaned down and whispered in her ear. Mark loves the flavor orange when it comes to sweets. She was ready to tell him that she had no interest in Quan when Carl ran up and slapped Adam on the shoulder. The sudden impact took him by surprise, and he dropped the cookie. Luna looked in horror as the cookie collided with the ground and crumbled to pieces. Adam only shrugged and took another cookie. Really? Sweets? You're taking this food as the way to a man's heart a little too seriously. Quan sneered. He went to grab a cookie from the pile, but Luna moved the plate away from him. He raised an eyebrow, probably thinking that she was acting childish. Reaching with his left hand, he made a move toward the plate. What she didn't see was that his right hand was in position with the plate moving right towards it. Better luck next time. He smiled as he took a bite of the heart-shaped cookie. Adam came back and grabbed another cookie, shoving it into his mouth with a delighted look. As he ate, he looked around. No water? He asked, licking his lips. The action drew Luna's eyes up to Adam's plump lips until his words registered in her mind. An idea hit Luna. She fished in her bag for the spare love potion that she had stored in a water bottle. It was completely full and the lid was tightened enough that it could pass as a brand new, unused bottle that she just got out of the machine. Here you go. I just happened to have an extra. He gratefully accepted the water, and then he and Quan walked off toward the coach. Luna slammed the plate into the arms of a confused Carl. It worked. The plan worked. She was so excited that she could start dancing at any moment. Don't celebrate just yet. Isaac pointed to where Adam and Quan stood talking to the coach. Quan unscrewed the lid to his water and took a drink. Fear seeped into her. She was positive that Quan did not have a water on him earlier. She looked down at Adam's hands and saw that he no longer had the bottle filled with love potion. No. She screamed, her hand reaching out of its own accord, unable to touch the object of her terror due to the vast distance. Mark's point of view, I could really use something to drink. Mark swallowed the last bite of his cookie. He had to admit that the girl could bake. It was unfortunate that sugar cookies always left the mouth dry and sticky. Here you go, man. It's too warm for me. I like my drinking water ice cold. Adam offered him the water that Luna had given him earlier. Water was water to Mark. He could drink it at room temperature or straight out of the fridge. Mark took the drink from him and unscrewed the lid. The water slid down his throat, relieving it from the stickiness. Something sparked through him, something that felt a lot like magic. He then started to smell a familiar scent of green tea, milk, and honey. The smell was so strong that it seemed to fill him completely. That wonderful scent that filled his every pore reminded him of Luna, and the uniquely warm scent that was hers and hers alone. Mark's eyes flashed to where she was standing as a dawning horror filled him. A horrified expression warped her face and her hand was outstretched, reaching out towards him, her fingers flexing frantically. Mark's heartbeat quickened. He looked down at his fingers and saw them outlined in a faint pink glow. Then it suddenly disappeared and his heartbeat returned to normal. That was weird. That was definitely magic that he sensed on him. Which sort of made sense since he thought he had felt it sparking through his nervous system and lighting up his blood vessels when he had first taken a drink of the so-called water. Closing his eyes, he turned his senses inward to sense for any lingering traces of that magic. There weren't any. An expression of puzzlement warped his face, tugging his thick eyebrows downward and creasing the line between his eyes. "What did you boys want to talk about?" Coach asked them, walking up to him and Atom. "We just wanted to see how your mom was doing, Coach Flair." Adam's voice sounded like it was miles away instead of right beside him as the realization hit him. Mark looked back to where Luna was still staring at him with that horrified expression. Her sidekick was standing beside her, clapping his hands to his legs as he laughed. Mark saw the crumbled cookie crushed into the ground, the one that was for Atom. He then looked at the water that he had just taken a drink of. The water that was for Atom. Screwing the lid back on, he walked over to the nearest trash can and threw it away. Without taking a shower, he grabbed his things from the locker room. He was in a hurry to get home and confirm his suspicions. When he arrived home, Mark found his mom in the kitchen. "Is Dad home?" he asked. "No, he called earlier to say that he had to stay at the office late. It'll just be the two of us for dinner. I'm making egg rolls, your favorite," his mother said as she focused on cooking. Maybe she could answer his question. She might not possess any magic, but she had been married to his dad for 20 years and had known him for even longer. She also taught a mythological class at the university because of her love for all things myth-related. Love potions had appeared throughout myths taking on various forms, so his mom might know if any of the myths had credibility to them. "Have you ever heard of a love potion with credibility? Or if Dad mentioned a potion of that sort?" he asked casually, trying to not let his mom know just how anxious he was to hear her answer. His mother tapped the spatula to her cheek, going deep into thought. "I've never seen a spell or recipe for one personally, but I do remember an old classmate of mine boasting about creating one. I don't think she was a witch though," she said after some thought. "What was her name?" As he waited for her to answer, he thought about the possible classmates that his mom may have had. His mother had attended the same high school that he was now going to. Then he thought about everything that he knew about Luna. He remembered Lila telling him that both of Luna's parents had met and dated during high school, and he knew that her dad had attended their school because his picture with his name hung in the trophy case. A feeling of trepidation started to fill him. His mom turned back to the stove. Her name was Phoebe. Phoebe Welsh. Luna's aunt's name was Phoebe. He would sometimes hear Isaac gushing about her lemonade. "Did she have a sister?" Mark asked. "She did, actually. A younger one. I think her name may have been Tess something." Why the sudden interest? His mother laid a plate in front of him. A perfectly golden egg roll and baked asparagus lay steaming on the white porcelain dish. She then sat a bowl of rice down, a glass of water following it next. "I think I may have accidentally drank her niece's love potion. It's fine. I only felt its effects for a second," he said nonchalantly. His mom looked at him with a worried expression. "Good, it means the little witch messed up." His mother's voice was filled with spite. "Or the effects were cancelled out since I'm already in love with her." He chuckled. Most spells that were intended to change a person's feelings would automatically cancel out if that person was already feeling that way. Luna Ravenwood is Phoebe's niece. Mark was pretty sure that this was the first time that he had seen his mom this surprised. Not since his 10th birthday when his powers developed. He had accidentally burned a hole in the living room wall with his finger. After finishing dinner, he grabbed a quick shower. He now lay on his bed. Light sparked from his fingertips to create the constellations on his ceiling. From his conversation with his mom and the water bottle incident, he was pretty sure that little Miss Goody Two-Shoes was a witch. He was also convinced that he had drunk a love potion that was intended for Atom. The only thing that he wasn't sure of was why it didn't affect him. Was his joke earlier correct? Did the natural feelings that he possesses toward her cancel out the fake ones that the potion was supposed to create? Did a love potion even follow the basic rules of potions? He wasn't feeling the effects, but she wouldn't know that. A smile splayed itself on his face as a plan formed. Luna's point of view, Luna shuffled through the spells in a frenzied state. Papers rained down onto the floor around her. There has to be a way to reverse it. Her voice rang with hysteria. Isaac picked the spells up from the floor. Look at it this way, at least you won't have to worry about him bullying you anymore. He said teasingly. That's not funny. I took away his free will. This situation is not what he or I want. Luna all but whined, feeling distraught. Isaac gave her a curious look, a little confused with her reasoning. Weren't you willing to take away Adam's free will? He asked. That was different. Adam doesn't hate me. She sighed and threw the rest of the spells on the floor. Isaac was right. She was trying to take away someone's free will and it backfired on her. She laid down on her aunt's bed in defeat, a heavy sigh escaping from her as the realization of her actions hit her full force. It's not different, is it? Maybe this is my punishment for messing with things. And it probably was. There was a good reason as to why one shouldn't try to forcibly change another person, and it was especially true when trying to force someone to love someone that they didn't, and witches were always punished for trying to mess with things that they shouldn't. Isaac ran his hand over the top of her hair in a way to comfort her. It's not punishment. If you were to be punished, then you would be, but not Mark. He's the victim. Never thought I would say that. Despite the turmoil that was rolling around inside her, she laughed. Thanks. She took the spells from him and placed them back in their hidden compartment in the safe. I think it's about time that I give Aunt Phoebe a call, she said with finality, as she closed the door to the safe. She grabbed her phone and clicked on her contacts. Scrolling down until she found her aunt's number, she clicked on it. I really should save her number to my speed dial. The phone went straight to voicemail, telling her that it was turned off. Leaving a quick message, she explained her current situation. Please have a reversal spell or potion, Aunt Phoebe, were her final words before hanging up. That's weird that she didn't answer, Isaac said. She was probably in a meeting. Her aunt was away this week for investment meetings, so that was probably the likely reason as to why she didn't answer her phone. Luna started feeling bad that she called her aunt when she did. She should have waited until later in the evening to call her. I wonder if there is a universal reversal spell. Like maybe a spell or a potion that can reverse all of the spells. Isaac mused aloud. Luna jumped up with new vigor. That's it. Isaac, you're a genius. She ran down the steps, taking them two at a time. Opening up the kitchen cupboard, she removed the spell book. The spell book was a large and thick book that was disguised as a Betty Crocker cookbook. The cover made the book look like it was a normal, everyday item that one would find in a kitchen. The only problem was that it could easily be mistaken as a cookbook to their non-magical guests. Isaac's mom almost found out what it was not long after Luna's parents had passed away. Flipping through the pages, she came to the spell that she was looking for. She read over the spell and reread it until she could memorize it without looking at the words. All she would have to do is substitute a few words into the spell to specify the target. Tomorrow, the first chance that she got, she would use this spell on Quan. And hopefully she will be freed from this nightmare of a situation.